listening to the Lawyer Up with Steve podcast on the Boss Up Houston Network. Come get your questions answered. We'll see you then. And remember, Lawyer Up. We have another show for you to talk to you and give you some great information. A lot has been happening lately, and we definitely want to get into that. Had to call a little audible. We had some information we wanted to share with you, but a really big event happened this week that I want to get into and I want to talk about. We'll talk about some of the other issues that I had planned to talk about, but this issue really needs a little bit of delving into, a little bit of discussion about. If you're joining me, please feel free to share it on Facebook so we can get the conversation going. I'm going to be checking my live feed here. I'm going to try to interact with you guys if you guys comment, and if there's some certain things you want me to weigh in on and give my own unique perspective. And for those that don't know who I am, I always have to introduce myself. My name is Steve Okoroha. I'm an attorney, and I practice in Fort Bend and Harris County. I do family law, I do business and contracts, I do estate planning, I do traffic tickets, a little bit of everything. So I'm your one-stop shop for everything you need legal-wise. This show is to give you a lot of tips to help you avoid certain legal pitfalls. And if you go back to the first season, you'll see that that was really the essence of last season. But what I want to do with this season is give you a lot more information about what's going on and how and what's affecting you right now. And the theme of this season has been the pandemic. And COVID-19, of course, that's the biggest elephant in the room. That's been going on for last year and a little bit into this year. I was able to successfully get my Pfizer vaccine, my second shot of my Pfizer vaccine. So, just doing the part to try to help out and help us get back to normal. And what I've been doing is just sharing a lot of different resources that you guys can take advantage of, and a lot of things that you guys need to know. But this issue has affected a lot of different people, especially the minority community, and that is the issue of George Floyd. Now, we just recently had a verdict for Derek Chauvin that he was found guilty on all 3 counts. Now, I want to talk about that and just the state of racial tensions, police brutality, different laws and stuff like that. I want to go into that a little bit. I want to get your feedback as well. If I see any feedback, I'll definitely chime in and try to address that live. I'm going to try and do multiple things at once, and then after that, just want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the community and let you guys know what's happening. And try to give you guys some more information of more useful information that you might need in your day-to-day life. So before we do that, we're going to go on a quick commercial break, pay some bills. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Got through watching a great show on Boss Up Houston Network. Have you heard? They're bossing up, okay? And I heard they're looking for you. Any podcasters, talk show hosts, if you're a writer or producer, we definitely need you. Come aboard and boss up.
Are you a small business owner that is struggling to promote your company?
Our topic today is, what's your status?
Shoot the dice at this point.
You just shoot the dice. Roll the dice.
So...
Yes.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's attorneys.
Fine. I love it.
Imagine being televised on a national platform. How about being a host or sponsor on a syndicated podcast? or being featured on exclusive promotions and interview for your product to your ideal customer. Hi, I'm Kayla Sneed, and I'm head of sales with Boss Up Houston. And here at Boss Up, we like to help small business owners and entrepreneurs advertise, promote, or become a sponsor for one of our television, podcast, or radio shows. All you have to do is click the link down below to see if you qualify. I'll be seeing you soon.
This is Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. You're tuned in to the Lawyer Up with Steve podcast. I'm your host, Steve Okoraha, and we're going to get right into it. Like I said before the break, we're going to make a good chunk of this episode talking about George Floyd and the state of affairs in America. And it's important because we really have to analyze the relationships between minorities and law enforcement and justice in general. Criminal issues, law enforcement, it all deals within that legal criminal justice realm. So, it's right up my alley, even though I don't do a whole lot of criminal law. I dabble in it a little bit. I'm able to kind of, me being in the community and me knowing about these things and me having relationships, with police officers, with constables, and being in and out of court, I understand the situation enough to have a perspective and to know about certain things. So, like I said, I am live here with you guys on Facebook. So, if you want to ask a question, and to get my perspective, definitely feel free to do so. But we're gonna go with the first question that I have. That I got a little bit earlier before this show. Do you feel that this verdict is a step in the right direction for police reform? That's a good question. It really just depends on how police departments across the nation are going to respond to this verdict. It's funny because I think I heard on the news that somewhere in Chicago that someone had hacked the police radios and were playing the Derek Chauvin verdict over and over on the police radios, and they had to figure out how to get it off. And I thought it was as comical as that sounds. I think a lot of people are now going to be putting a lot more pressure on police departments to make sure that they just serve justice fairly and not increase police brutality on minorities, and to make sure that punishments fit the crime. A lot of different encounters with minorities and police officers have led to fatal accidents, or accidents, as we've become accustomed to hearing that it's an accident. But there's a lot of things, and I think the main thing is kind of just the racial undertones of it all. And would I say that we're moving forward in the right direction? I would like to hope so, because I think what happened with the verdict is just one pebble in a giant ocean of issues, and that's just a lot of systemic issues with how the police department is put together and how they do their job. The people that join the police department, a lot of them well-intentioned. I don't want to say that there's just every officer in every police department across the land is bad, but there's just a lot of reform needed, and a lot more relationship building with minority communities in every major city, across the nation, that really needs to be looked at. There is a fear and an ignorance, I think, that is very pervasive, and we, on both sides, and I think that's just what we need to sort out. We need to sort out a lot of the issues that police officers have when they go into minority communities, and their training, and if they're well equipped to handle these issues. A lot of funding needs to be looked into. I know that's a real big thing, because after the George Floyd incident last year, there was a big movement to defund the police. Now, I'm not exactly sure if the police need to be completely defunded, but funding is part of it. You need to hit them where it hurts, and if reform is something that needs to happen, then reform of the budget may be something that needs to happen as well. So I think a lot of these issues are things that definitely need to be looked at, and I think if we analyze that a little bit more, then we may have some better relationships with minority communities, and of course a good step towards police reform. I think that's definitely what's needed. So. Comment that I just got here, question, not a comment, basically is, what punishment would I suggest for Derek Chauvin? Me personally, I think that the prosecution went for a charge that they knew 100% was going to stick, and that's second-degree murder. Everyone's like, well, why isn't first degree? Why wasn't? Because the thing about first degree versus second degree is first degree is premeditated. It's planned out. What Derek Chauvin did, while not premeditated, was intentional, and that's why it rose to the level of a second degree murder and not a first degree. So, do I believe he should have had a harsher punishment? Yes, but with what the charges entail, and of course, I don't know the laws of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis, but I think that was as harsh of a punishment as he could have received, and I think the prosecution did a good job with presenting that, because for those that watched the trial, they didn't even put Derek Chauvin on the stand. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that the defense did not believe that it would have been a good idea and done him justice in terms of the way he was going to look if he was put on the stand, and that they being the prosecution, would have really just laid into him, and maybe not have had him able to control himself and his words. And do I think that maybe he's remorseful? I'm pretty sure he is remorseful, because he's gotten way more publicity, way more attention, way more hate, just way more commentary that he probably never bargained for and didn't think about. I saw a video circulating around social media, and basically it showed video from the killing of right after he did it. He was walking back to his car, and someone followed him and said, "This is going to haunt you for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to sleep. You're not going to be able to live peacefully." And he's right, because when you do something like this, and any police officer that engages in something like this, you would think that you take that into account of the amount of stress and the amount of just agony and pain that you feel, and remorse, which is the biggest thing that he probably feels. Maybe not. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I shouldn't. You guys can be the judge of that. But I know that he is at least a little bit, hopefully a little bit remorseful, mainly only because of all of the attention, the negative attention that he's getting. I'm sure that him and his family don't feel too safe in Minneapolis, and with all of the racial tensions that has happened and all of the calls for reform that has happened. So I'm not too sure about the how he feels, but I do know that what the prosecution did in terms of going after the charges and everything was very well laid out, very well presented. I watched quite a bit of it, in my office while I'm doing work. So I think that he got what he deserved. got another question here in the chat, and keep them coming. I like it. What this question is should black people celebrate or should they still be mad? I was having this discussion with a couple friends, and basically how they felt was that this is just a small drop in a pond full of a big ocean full of issues. I do feel like what happened on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, while it was good for Derek Chauvin to be punished, I feel like, my own personal opinion, of course, that it was something that was supposed to happen. And this is justice being served. But we're in a society right now that we as minorities aren't necessarily getting the justice that is needed when these types of things happen. For one reason or another, it could be racial, it could be the justice system, it could be police reform, it could be a lot of different factors that go into why police killings on minorities aren't being given the justice that it would for other communities. So what I would say to that is I think this isn't the end, and it's not even really a good first. Well, I mean, it's a good first step, but it's not as much progress as is needed to really address all of the systemic issues, because it's very deeply rooted. And I think we all need to be really involved and continue to keep pressure for police reform, keep pressure on our lawmakers to bring about new laws and new policies. That is where we're going to find the most change, because if minorities want to be protected, then we have to be able to A, advocate for laws and policies that protect minorities, and B, establish relationships with these departments that are positive, so that they don't have any reason to fear or to do these things, so that we know. It's kind of like how people say back in the day, police officers would come in the neighborhood and be hanging out on the stoop with the kids and playing with the kids and joking around, and they know the officer by name. Even though we're not in that same time, there needs to be kind of that same closeness, so that police officers are supposed to protect and serve, but a lot of times we feel like it's for one community and not the other. So I really think that there needs to be a much better relationship between law enforcement and minority communities, and that just starts with the pressure. It's not time to get complacent because George Floyd gets justice, but it's time for us to be more civically involved. That's really the main crux of where we're going to find change. So let's talk about one more question that I got prior to this show. How crucial was the video footage obtained in the case when it happened? Very big. I think that now everybody having a camera is good, because when these types of things happen, they can be properly documented. Now, you say, well, Steve, police officers have body cams now. We should be good, right? Not really. They do have the option of turning it off, and we have seen instances where they have turned it off. So did Derek Chauvin and the other officers at the scene where they were arresting George Floyd, did they have body cams on? Probably did. I mean, if you watched the case and you saw the evidence, maybe you saw that. I did not see any body cam evidence, but the person that was constantly videotaping the incident and saw how long Derek Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd, I think that is really what put the nail in the coffin, because you can't deny watching someone sit there, scream for their life, call their mother. By the way, his mother was deceased and he was still calling for his mother, just to put that in perspective. basically saying, I can't breathe, get off me, stop, please, I don't want to die. Everyone knows what was said. But to see that, to have that visceral reaction, that visual reaction, I think is really what helped the prosecution win that case. And it goes on in every other incidence of police brutality across the country. People need to continue doing this to show people exactly what is going on. I mean, there wasn't any footage with Breonna Taylor, but there was with Ahmaud Arbery when he was jogging, and that was really gruesome. So it just goes to show you that we are now being able to expose a lot of the bad acts that are happening. So I definitely think it helped them a great deal with their case, and I think that people need to. That's the best way for people to intervene without endangering their own life. Yes, a lot of people are saying George Floyd would have been alive had everybody just kind of dogpiled the police and tried to get him off of him and everything. Yes, but you don't know what the police would have done in retaliation to that. They were usually, when the police are in this situation, they're already very fearful. So it just you never know what's going to happen, and to ask people to intervene on behalf of someone they don't know when they don't know exactly what is going on, they don't know his background. It's a hard sell, but I think that at the very minimum, the people being there videotaping, the people being there shouting at the police to stop and to get off and to say, what are you doing? I think that is something that is really going to help kind of put a check on in the justice system for this type of things to happen, because we can't continue to see these things happen. I mean, we just can't. I mean, there's too much going on in the world, and when we have video footage of this happening, it's hard to deny. And the naysayers will say that oh well, this is a person that was a bad apple to begin with, but even guilty people don't deserve to die. We all know that we need to let the justice system run its course, and we need to let due process of law happen for anybody, guilty or not guilty. The police should not be killing people, in my opinion. But everybody has a different perspective to that. So, but yes, to answer the question, I mean, the video footage was definitely very, very crucial. Hopefully we don't have to witness something like that again. It's my hope that we don't have to have these things continue happening, and that police departments across the country have a very rude awakening to say, okay, well, we need to really sort this out. We need to see, okay, well, is it a personnel issue? Do we have certain people or people that are prone to be doing these things? How are we in our communities? What's our perception in the communities? How is our funding? Are we using it in the best way possible? City councils across the country should also examine that as well. So there's a lot of steps, a lot of things that need to be done. But the main thing is everyone needs to be more involved. We need to be more involved in how our cities are run, how our state is run, how our country is run. I mean, we already do the presidential elections and everything, but we need to make sure that we are constantly involved in our local, county, district, state elections as well, because those matter. Even our school board elections matter. Everything matters, because everything is intertwined. If you think that, oh, well, I vote in the presidential election, I voted for Joe Biden or Donald Trump or something, you got to make sure that you know who you're voting for, because these people are the ones that put people in charge of different aspects of society that really impact these types of incidences. The judges in the criminal courts, they're elected. The civil courts, they're elected. The JP courts, the municipal courts, Some are elected, some are appointed. So we really just have to, people in general need to be a lot more involved. So, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a break here. We're going to get back into the Justice for George Floyd issue a little bit more, and then we're gonna move on and talk about a lot of other things happening in the community. I am still in the show just like you guys, so if you have questions, feel free to post it now. Post it over the commercial break. I'll definitely answer it, give my perspective, and give you some much needed feedback on the situation. So we'll be right back.
Boss Up Houston, you know why? Right here.
Boss Up Houston, where we look up, stay up, and boss up.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. You're back with your host, Steve Okoraha, on the Lawyer Up with Steve podcast. So we are talking all things George Floyd. For those that don't know, recently on this past Wednesday, Derek Chauvin got his guilty verdict, all 3 counts guilty of second-degree murder. So we're basically diving into it, where we're talking about the reactions of everybody and the future of police reform, the future of racial tensions in this country. It's at an all-time high. We're just basically talking about where do we go from here, and how we should continue to feel about it. Now, as much as we were able to get justice for George Floyd and his family, we're not still in a great place in terms of the amount of police brutality that happens, and just how that has impacted racial tensions. We haven't had it this high since Rodney King and the O.J. Simpson trial. I mean, this is that level, that high of a level of racial tensions, because those 2 cases had a lot. It was really racially divided. And I believe this one was too, but the only difference with this one is that I think, and this is because this was more at a point where I was actually paying attention. Rodney King and O.J. Simpson, I was really young, of course. I'm showing my age here, everybody. But why I think this was a little bit different was because it impacted everyone across the world. I mean, I saw protests in Australia and Europe and Latin America and Africa. I mean, it was bad. I for those that don't know, I'm a Nigerian American, and I saw protests in Nigeria, and they would protest at the U.S. Embassy. So it was very powerful to really show, embarrassingly, what's going on in the U.S. Police brutality happens way more here than it does in other countries. So it's definitely something that needs to be looked at. It needs to be examined. It needs to be changed. I mean, just simple as that. But a lot of people are going to be upset about it, and you have good reason to still be upset about it. I mean, George Floyd, him getting the justice is a little bit of a sigh of relief, but what happened is what was supposed to happen, you know. So, but you shouldn't. I heard a quote on the radio, and they said this, is that you shouldn't be more angry than you are organized. And I'll repeat that again. You shouldn't be more angry than you are organized. So what does that mean? It's what I've been telling you guys before the break. Make sure that you are involved. You are part of the solution. Do not just sit and be mad. Get organized. Join different civic organizations. Join nonprofits. People that are really out here trying to make substantive change. They need you. You know, there's only strength in numbers. It's good to be more involved so that you know exactly how your community is run. And I know you're going to say, Steve, you're in the community, you're a politician, you're a lawyer, so, you know, it's easy for you to say, you know, I got jobs, I got, you know, kids, I got bills. I have those same things too. But if every one of us can be involved just a little bit, I think we can start seeing a lot more change, and a lot more pressure for change. A lot of these things are the way they are because they don't have anybody putting that pressure on them. And I think with what has gone on in the last year, with a lot of the different police brutality incidents that happened, like the George Floyds, like the Breonna Taylors, like you know, Ahmaud Arbery, I think it's really started to put pressure on people, and they're really, you know, kind of starting to sit up in their chairs, and we definitely need to continue doing that. You know, things don't change unless you do pressure. Unfortunately, not the right thing doesn't always happen, and we can't always rely on the system that's put in place because it's going to be flawed at certain points in time. But if we continue to get fresh perspectives from everybody, if we continue to get everybody's input, we continue to get everybody's enthusiasm and basically attention and care into the matters, then we can really start to see change. So, all right, that is really going to be my my spiel on George Floyd. Like I said, I'm still in the comments. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask it. We can jump back into it. But I want to talk to you guys more about kind of, you know, different things going on in the community. Some related to the incident, some not. One of those things being voter suppression. Now, with the last presidential election that happened, and of course the subsequent Senate race in Georgia, we've seen a lot more incidents of state lawmakers making it more difficult for people to vote and putting a lot more restrictions on people voting because of the result that happened. Now, regardless of where you fall on political lines, it's important to note that voting is a very substantial right. It's your duty as a citizen of this country to make sure that you have your voice heard. And no one should be able to take that from you. In fact, we should be making it easier for people to exercise their right to vote, because we want to make sure that everybody's heard. And just like when, you know, what I was talking about with changes in police reform with George Floyd, voting is just one of those things that you use to exercise your voice and your opinion. You do some research on these candidates and you learn about them, and if they fit your views and your beliefs and that they are advocating the right amount of changes and things that you feel should be done, then you go out and you vote for them. You say, hey, this guy or this gal is who I want to see changing things or making laws or being in this position of power, because I trust them to do what I feel should be done. So it's disheartening, you know, to hear a lot of the things that Georgia has done, a lot of things that Texas is doing. Florida, I believe, as well. A lot of different states are enacting just very restrictive bills and policies that are really making it very difficult for you, the people, to go ahead and exercise your vote. The reason for that basically is, of course, the results that have happened, but I guess a prevailing, mostly false fear of fraud going on in our voting structure. Now, I'm not going to say that I know exactly what goes on, behind the scenes when it comes to voting. However, what I am going to say is that a lot of the, allegations that have been thrown out previously have just mainly been fruitless. I mean, we saw the lawsuits that former President Donald Trump has filed that have been just thrown out and dismissed. So that's one of the things that's going on with the community is right now is voter suppression. I mean, so just make sure that you do exercise your right to vote, and make sure that you have the proper identification. You go to your right precinct, all of that. And voting is going on right now, for those that don't know. And yes, you're saying there's an election going on in the middle of April. Yes, elections go on every year, and sometimes a couple of times a year. We're going to have one in the fall. So there's usually one in the spring, one in the fall, anywhere between March and May, and then in the fall, anywhere between September, October, November. You should expect some type of election going on, whether it be a school board election, whether it be a city council election, whether it be state congress, governor's race, a lot, mayoral races. I mean, there's a lot of different elections that happen. So make sure that you're informed about it, because it's not only your right as a citizen to make sure that your voice is heard, but it's your duty to make sure that we're putting people in place that are going to make sure that they enact laws and policies that help and protect us. That's really what it boils down to. One of the next issues that I wanted to touch on a little bit, of course, is the rental assistance. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we talked about this briefly in the prior season. If you want to go back and check out one of my episodes in the first season that talks about landlord housing issues, there is still rental assistance being given for those that are not able to make ends meet because of the pandemic. And of course, we had for those in the Houston area, we did have that winter storm that happened 2 months ago, and people are still suffering from that. So naturally, there would be issues with people not having a means of paying for their rent. So there are resources, whatever county you're in, check online and see what assistance is being given. I know that there was a moratorium on evictions for a while. Not sure if that's still going on. I believe it still might be, but you want to look into that. You want to make sure that you check and see, what rules are currently in place, or what laws are currently in place that apply to me in order for me to stay where I am. Now, I do know that Harris and Fort Bend definitely have resources for rental assistance, so you want to make sure you check that out. Now, I'm not sure about foreclosures for those that own their home, but I know definitely for renters, there are resources out there. And of course, the PPP loan is still out there. There's grants that your county has for people that are suffering through the COVID-19 pandemic. So just make sure to take advantage of those for, if you truly need it, because those resources are still there. You would be surprised how much resources are available because people are not taking advantage of them. So my advice to you is to really just check out your county's website, see all the things available to you. If you're in a position where you're saying, well, I may not have this, or I need a little bit of financial assistance with that, there's a plethora of resources out there. So don't suffer in silence. Don't be an island onto yourself. Make sure that you get out there and utilize those resources. All right, so another issue that I wanted to touch on briefly that a lot of that I had to think about, but a lot of people are in this position. Some are not. I used to be. Is animal control. Now, how are our animals being affected during the pandemic? I actually used to have a dog, a German Shepherd, very handsome dog. I don't have him anymore just because, at the time, me and my wife were expecting children, so we didn't want to juggle both a child and a dog. But we did talk. I mean, it has been talked about that pets are not faring. Some pets are not faring too well. Can they catch COVID? I don't know. You tell me if they can. I'm sure there probably is a way that they can. I'm not sure if they can pass it or not. But how have things been? I mean, are they really getting loose a lot more? Are we taking care of them because we're at the house more? Who knows? I mean, that's just one of those things that we want to make sure that we're on top of. I mean, we talked about in the last episode, how kids are being affected, but we don't always think about pets and how their well-being is. So make sure your pets are doing well. Make sure they're being taken care of. I mean, we're starting to go back to the workforce a little bit, but our pets are one of those things that give us joy and make us happy. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that they're being taken care of properly. So if you have any questions or comments about that, I'd definitely like to dive into that. I'm a dog lover myself. Whatever pet you have, cats, snakes, gerbils, fish, anything you have, just make sure that we're taking proper care of them. And I'm sure your county has resources to make sure that happens as well. I have not seen any type of big pet food distributions, but if I do, I'll let you know. Speaking of food distributions, there are food distributions going on almost every weekend with the American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, an organization that I'm also part of. I will be sharing that through my social media. So if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll be seeing those things. And basically, it's to give you guys information on where you can get much needed groceries, free COVID testing, free HIV testing, water, different basic needs that people need in their house and they may not be able to obtain. We have to remember that while you may not be suffering, you have neighbors, next to you, across from you, down the street from you, a few blocks over from you, a neighborhood or two over from you, that might be doing worse than you are. So my goal is to always share that information with you guys as I get it. Definitely feel free to follow me on social media. I'll give you my social media at the end of the show. And make sure you take advantage of those resources. They're out here to help you, and I'm trying to help you by giving you this information so that you can go and take advantage of that. Or you can pass along the information to someone that can actually take advantage of those things if you're not. So, all right. So, last one or two things I want to talk about: small businesses. So we've talked about this on our first and I believe our third show as well. How small businesses have been affected. So. What I want you guys to do, and even if you're watching this after it's being live, I want you guys to put your favorite small business in the chat, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a bar, whether it be any type of other mom and pop shop, your favorite dry cleaner, your favorite convenience store, anything that is not a big commercial store. I want you to drop that in the comments, because what we really need to do is to start supporting our small businesses and really start to shed light on the fact that while we are getting vaccinated and while the pandemic is freeing up, people are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with going out. Small businesses have really been affected, and small businesses are really the lifeblood of our community. So we want to make sure that we are giving the right support to them to make sure that they're alive and thriving, and they're able to really serve the local community as much as possible. So make sure that you put those comments in there, put your favorite small businesses, tag them if they have a Facebook page, put their at Instagram. We want to make sure that we really highlight them and make sure that we get people out and patronize them. If you have a small business, I want you to also put it in there so I can check you out, because I want to make sure, I'm a small business owner myself. I own my own law firm, but I want to make sure that people really start to recover from all of the things that have happened with the pandemic. So make sure to reach out to me. Let me know what small businesses you like. What's your favorite burger joint? What's your favorite convenience store? Anything, and any industry. Don't feel free to make it as broad as possible. Any fashion, makeup, anything. So just make sure that you put your favorite business, just so that we can patronize them and try to bring more attention to them. All right. The last thing is basically what we've been talking about for the longest time is COVID-19. Now, a lot of people are talking about getting the PPP, which I definitely think you should apply for that loan for your business if your business has suffered. But the biggest thing I think that a lot of people are kind of struggling with is the whole mask requirement, as well as getting vaccinated. So wherever you fall, just make sure that you're being safe and you're practicing in these initiatives that help us to get back to where we need to be as a community. We all want to be safe. We all want to make sure that we're protected, and we want to stamp out COVID as much as possible. Now, in my opinion, will COVID ever go away? I don't think it will fully go away 100%. It'll just become something like the flu, where we just have to get vaccinated every year. Whether there will be an immunization, hopefully we can get to that point where it's just like chickenpox. We take it one shot and we can't catch it anymore. Who knows? I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know a lot of those details, but make sure that you do your part, and make sure that you're respectful to your neighbor and people that you encounter on a day-to-day basis. In establishments, I know what Governor Abbott said about not needing masks, but I definitely recommend that you still wear masks when you go out and about, because this is just one of those things. You just don't know when you'll catch it. You don't know when you'll have it. You don't know if you have it. And you don't want to be one of those people that are, unconsciously spreading it. So make sure to protect yourself and protect others. Wear a mask, social distance where you can, and make sure that you're around people that are also playing it safe and or may have gotten the vaccine, just to make sure that we do our part to stamp out COVID-19 in our community as much as possible. All right, so we've talked about quite a bit. I know the majority of the show we talked about George Floyd. Like I said, I am definitely open to talking about it some more, giving you my insight, my feedback on it, giving you a little bit more feedback as to what's going on with that, the state of racial affairs, the state of police reform. Definitely want to make sure that you guys are well informed. That's the goal of every season, is to make sure, and every episode is to make sure that you guys are informed. So, my last minute tip that I want to leave you guys with before I give you my contact information: get out and vote. I said it once before, and I'm going to say it again: get out and vote. There's elections going on right now in your community, mostly for school board, a few city council races. I know majority of those races are going on in Fort Bend and Harris County, but somewhere in your county there is a race going on. Make sure that you take advantage and go and vote. Learn about who is running. It's important, and this is how we have our voices heard so that we make our community better. All right, guys. My contact information, email, is contact@goodmanmcgill.com. Phone number 833-529-9748. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn. My website is www.goodmanmcgill.com. Feel free to check me out. Now you have every which way to contact me, and like I said, I'm on Facebook. I've been seeing your comments, everything, so don't be a stranger. Don't wait to see me every Friday. You can reach out and say hello. Give me some feedback about my show. Ask a question that you want to know. Hey, you never know. You might see yourself right next to me, so that we can come and talk to you, and we can learn about what's going on in your life and really highlight to the people, what you bring to the community. So if you want to, be on the show and be highlighted, I can definitely arrange that. But you gotta reach out and let me know. So you have all my contact information, you have my phone number, you have my email, you have my social media. Feel free to reach out to me, hit me up with questions, feedback, comments, anything like that. Positive or negative, I don't care. I have tough skin. And as always, when life gets you down, remember to lawyer up. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Tune into the Lawyer Up with Steve podcast on the Boss Up Houston Network. Come get your questions answered. We'll see you then. And remember, lawyer up.